All right, so Steelers just signed Cordarrelle Patterson. Kind of cool. I wish this would have happened like 3 or 4 years ago, though. At least we're helping out the Madden roster, right? That's what all these signings have been doing recently. Cordarrelle Patterson just is another addition to that. Not only for the normal portion of the game, but also for Ultimate Team. Whenever they do those throwback cards, like this is going to hold up long term. Just like us signing Pat P last year, or us signing Mike Vick in the last year of his career. Like that counts. They're Steelers for life. So whenever they drop cards for Ultimate Team going forward, like, yeah, you're going to be able to use them for the Steelers theme team. But man, yeah, going back to wishing this happened 3-4 years ago. Like that's what I was thinking. Like Cordarrelle Patterson, whenever I first saw the news, isn't he like 35, 36 years old? Like it might be time for him to get on with his life's work. I know he didn't really have the best one of his best seasons last year with the Falcons. Really didn't do much. So how much is he really gonna help the Steelers? But did some extra research. Cordarrelle's not that old. He's only going to be 33 for this 2024 season. Was 32 last year in Atlanta. I thought this came out of nowhere. Like, we haven't heard any reports or rumors of the Steelers having interest in Cordarrelle Patterson, right? But at the same time, hindsight being 2020, it makes so much sense because Cordarrelle Patterson was in Atlanta these last 3 years, and those are the exact same seasons that Arthur Smith was the head coach. And I'd argue, at least from an offensive standpoint, 2 of those 3 years were Cordarrelle's best seasons as a pro. Again, from the offensive side of things, because he's mainly known to be a kick returner and a special teams guy. As a 4-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro. From that standpoint, as a Hall of Famer, or not a Hall of Famer, but was a part of the Hall of Fame All 2010s team for being a kickoff return man. Doesn't do punt returning, but in terms of kickoff return, made those Pro Bowls and All Pros with Chicago, and also a couple of those seasons in Minnesota whenever he first started out. Also spent the season in Oakland, also spent the season with the Patriots, but these last 3, he was in Atlanta. And again, Arthur Smith, for 2 of those 3 seasons, knew how to utilize Cordarrelle Patterson, so much so that in 2021, he won the Most Improved Player of the Year. Now, I don't know if this was an official NFL Honors Award. This is the PFWA, so whatever the hell that means. Cordarrelle Patterson was the Most Improved Player in the league in 2021, at least from some publication. And it was a good year because I remember that. Like, he came out of nowhere, and I think he was helping a bunch of fantasy football teams at the time. 618 yards on the ground, 6 touchdowns, 548 yards receiving, 5 receiving touchdowns as well. So that's 11 total touchdowns, over 1,100 yards from scrimmage. And it's not like his numbers took that big of a hit in 2022. In 13 games, had 695 on the ground, 8 touchdowns. Didn't have as many receiving yards. Only 122 there, no receiving touchdowns. But that was still 817 yards from scrimmage and 8 touchdowns. Like, that's something. That's not bad at all. But 2023 didn't do jack shit. Only 181 on the ground, 3.6 yards per carry, only 38 receiving yards. And then even in the return game, which is, I guess, kind of weird because this is what he's known for, only had 7 attempts returning kickoffs and only 9 attempts returning kickoffs in 2022, going back 2 seasons. 18 attempts in 2021. I guess he's going to be our RB3 and our main return man. And if that's the case, I feel like it is an upgrade in both categories from what we had last year in Godwin Igwebuike. Like, he was decent in the return game. He had some nice plays. He had that IQ 1000 play where he was out of bounds and got us the ball at the 40. It was the opposite of a gunner play. But outside that, I mean, didn't really give us much. Didn't give us anything as a running back. So at least Cordarrelle is the utility man that he is, could give us something on offense, something additional. To what extent, I don't know if he's going to be turning back the clock to 2021 or 2022. But he's an insurance policy, a guy that Arthur Smith is familiar with. And now we don't have to draft a running back. So I'll take it because we have a similar pecking order to what Atlanta had last year, right? They had Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and then you have Cordarrelle Patterson. Here we got Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. Now, I don't think Najee Harris is as good as Bijan Robinson, but I think Jaylen Warren is better than Tyler Algier. So I'm just wondering how much work that leaves for Cordarrelle. But we're not signing him to a crazy contract. I do think it is a little bit more than I would have expected at this stage of the game. 2 years for $6 million. I would have thought Cordarrelle's probably worth like $2 million. But at the same time, with him being a veteran and putting all these years in and just what he's accomplished thus far, maybe there's a little bit of an overpay that has to happen to get Cordarrelle Patterson on your team. Is what it is. So I'm not against it. I think this is very similar to a lot of the moves we've been making this offseason. Like, is there any move that we don't like? Now, there's some moves that are more splashy than others, like Patrick Queen, Deshaun Elliott, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. But some of these other moves that have been happening more recently, like Montravius Adams, picking up Kyle Allen, Quez Watkins, Van Jefferson, like, there's no risk there, and I'd argue the same thing with Cordarrelle Patterson. Maybe we just overpaid $1 million for him. Outside of that, there's not much risk here, but I think he provides some insurance in the running back room and also in the return game. And I don't know if he's going to make the Hall of Fame. I was going to say he's at least a Hall of Famer being a kickoff return man. I don't know if he's like that. Now, Devin Hester did just make it in recently, but I don't think Cordarrelle Patterson is on Devin Hester's level. And he's a little bit up there in age, so it's not like we're getting prime Cordarrelle Patterson. But does he still got some gas left in the tank? We'll see. I mean, in 2022, that was only 2 years ago. That's when he had 695 on the ground, 8 touchdowns. That was 4.8 yards a carry. Like, that was something. It's just, are we going to bump up some of his kickoff return attempts? Because, again, he only had single digits these last 2 years. Who knows? I don't think we have Godwin back on this team anymore. So I think the role is there for the taking for Cordarrelle, both RB3 and, being our main kickoff return man. Doesn't do punts. But and I wonder if this signing had anything to do with the new kickoff rule. Because if you look at it, I kind of like the new kickoff rule. I hate the hip drop tackle rule. Everyone hates the hip drop tackle rule. But the new kickoff rule ain't bad. There's a lot of strategy involved, and I think it actually persuades teams from kicking it out of bounds. Like, they're going to have to be kicking it more in play more often, because if you kick it out of bounds, the offense is going to get the ball at the 35. So I wonder if this has anything to do with the timing of that new rule being implemented. But we'll see. Again, don't mind the move at all. Let me know your thoughts. Wish it would have happened 3-4 years ago. But we'll see if Cordarrelle has any gas left in the tank. It could be a nice additional weapon for Russell Wilson in the offense. But stay chilling. I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.